The morning sun barely touched the horizon when Maria Santos stepped off the military transport truck at Fort Bragg. Her boots hit the dusty ground with a soft thud, and she looked around at the sprawling base that would become her new home. At 19 years old, she stood just 5 feet 2 inches tall, with dark hair pulled back in regulation braids and eyes that seemed too serious for someone so young. The other recruits around her were mostly men, towering over her small frame. They whispered among themselves, casting sideways glances at the girl who looked like she belonged in a high school classroom rather than on a military base. Maria could hear their murmured comments about how she would never make it through basic training, how she was too small, too weak, too young. Staff Sergeant Williams approached the group, his voice booming across the assembly area. "Listen up, recruits. This is where you learn what it means to be a soldier. Some of you will succeed. Others will pack their bags and go home to mommy." His eyes swept over Maria, lingering for just a moment longer than the others. "We don't care where you come from or what you think you know. Here, you prove yourself every single day." Maria had grown up in a small town in Texas, where her father worked at the local auto repair shop and her mother cleaned houses to make ends meet. Money was always tight in the Santos household. When the military recruiter visited her high school, Maria saw it as her chance to change her family's future. She could get training, education, and a career that would help her support her parents and younger brother. But, standing there among the other recruits, she felt the weight of everyone's doubt pressing down on her shoulders. The boy next to her, a tall blonde kid named Jenkins, chuckled under his breath. "This is going to be interesting," he said to his friend. "Wonder how long the little girl lasts." Basic training began the next morning at 4:30. The drill instructors seemed to take special pleasure in pushing Maria harder than the others. During physical training, they made her carry extra weight. During obstacle courses, they timed her separately, as if expecting her to fail. But Maria had something the others didn't expect. She had been helping her father in his repair shop since she was 12 years old, lifting heavy parts and working with tools that required precision and strength. Every morning, she woke up sore and exhausted, but she never complained. When other recruits struggled with their gear, she quietly helped them. When someone fell behind during marching drills, she would subtly adjust her pace to keep the group together. The drill instructors noticed, but they said nothing. 3 weeks into training, during a particularly brutal day of combat exercises, Maria's unit was assigned to navigate through a simulated enemy territory. They had to work as a team to reach their objective while avoiding detection. The exercise was designed to test their ability to think strategically and support each other under pressure. Jenkins had been appointed as the team leader, and he immediately began barking orders at everyone. "Santos, you stay in the back and try not to slow us down," he commanded. Maria nodded without arguing, but she had been studying the terrain and noticed something the others had missed. As they moved through the course, Maria spotted movement in the bushes ahead, an instructor playing the role of an enemy sniper. Jenkins was leading the team directly into an ambush. She quickly moved forward and tapped Jenkins on the shoulder. "There's someone in those bushes at 2 o'clock, she whispered. "We need to go around." Jenkins brushed her off. "I know what I'm doing. Just follow orders." He continued forward, and, within minutes, the entire team was killed by the hidden instructor. They had failed the exercise completely. That night, as the recruits sat in their barracks cleaning their equipment, Jenkins confronted Maria. "This is your fault," he accused. "You distracted me with your stupid warnings. If you had just stayed quiet like I told you, we would have been fine." Maria looked up from the rifle she was cleaning. Her hands moved with practiced efficiency, something she had learned from her father who had been a hunter. "I saw the enemy position before you walked into it," she said calmly. "I tried to warn you. You think you know better than me?" Jenkins stepped closer, his voice rising. "You're just a little girl playing soldier. This isn't a game." Several other recruits had gathered around, waiting to see what would happen. Maria stood up slowly, meeting Jenkins' gaze without backing down. "I'm not playing anything," she said. "I'm here to become a soldier, just like you. And if you want to succeed, you need to listen when someone on your team sees danger." The confrontation might have escalated, but Drill Sergeant Patterson appeared in the doorway. His presence immediately silenced the room. "What's the problem here?" he asked, his voice cutting through the tension. Jenkins straightened up. "No problem, Sergeant. Just discussing today's exercise." Patterson's eyes moved between Jenkins and Maria, taking in the scene. He had been watching Maria carefully since the beginning of training. Unlike many of the instructors who saw only a small girl trying to play soldier, Patterson recognized something different in her. He had served 3 tours overseas and had learned to spot natural soldiers, those who had instincts and abilities that couldn't be taught. "Santos," he called out. "You're with me. Weapons maintenance evaluation." Maria followed Patterson to a separate room where various military weapons were laid out on tables. This wasn't part of the regular training schedule, and she wasn't sure what to expect. Patterson picked up an M16 rifle and began disassembling it. "Show me how to clean this weapon," he ordered. Maria approached the table and began working. Her movements were smooth and confident as she broke down the rifle, cleaned each component, and reassembled it. Patterson timed her. She completed the task faster than most soldiers with months of experience. "Where did you learn to handle weapons?" Patterson asked. "My father taught me," Maria replied. "He was in the army before I was born. He showed me how to shoot and maintain rifles when I was young. He said it was important to respect weapons and understand how they work." Patterson nodded, making notes on his clipboard. Over the next several days, he began pulling Maria aside for additional training and evaluation. He tested her marksmanship skills and was surprised to discover that she could consistently hit targets at distances that challenged even experienced shooters. During one evening session at the firing range, Patterson set up targets at progressively longer distances. Maria lay prone on the shooting mat, adjusting her position and breathing as her father had taught her. The first target was at 200 yards, she hit it dead center. The next was at 300 yards, another perfect shot. When Patterson moved the target to 400 yards, several other instructors had gathered to watch. The range fell silent as Maria took her time, calculating wind speed and bullet drop. She squeezed the trigger slowly, and the distant target showed another perfect hit. Patterson lowered his binoculars and looked at the young recruit with new respect. "How long have you been shooting?" he asked. "Since I was 10, Maria answered, sitting up from her shooting position. "My father said that if I was going to handle a weapon, I needed to be perfect with it. He made me practice every weekend until I could hit a soda can at 300 yards. Word began to spread around the base about the small recruit who could outshoot most of the instructors. Some soldiers came to watch her practice, curious to see if the rumors were true. Others remained skeptical, convinced that luck or favorable conditions were responsible for her performance. Captain Morrison, the officer in charge of advanced marksmanship training, heard about Maria's abilities and decided to evaluate her himself. He was a veteran sniper instructor who had trained some of the military's best sharpshooters. He approached Patterson after dinner one evening. "I want to see this recruit everyone's talking about," Morrison said. "If she's really as good as you claim, maybe we should be thinking about specialized training." The next morning, Morrison met Maria at an advanced shooting range used for sniper training. The targets were set up at distances ranging from 500 to 800 yards, with various obstacles and challenging conditions. Morrison handed her a precision rifle and explained the exercise. "I want you to engage each target in sequence," he instructed. "Take your time, but remember that in real combat, you don't always have the luxury of perfect conditions." Maria studied the range carefully, noting the wind direction and strength. She positioned herself behind the rifle and began engaging the targets. Each shot was deliberate and precise. When she finished, Morrison checked the results through his spotting scope. Every target showed hits within the highest scoring zones. "Outstanding," Morrison said, though his tone remained professional. But shooting at stationary targets in controlled conditions is different from real-world applications. Let's see how you handle moving targets and time pressure. For the next hour, Morrison put Maria through increasingly difficult challenges. He had instructors operate remote-controlled targets that moved unpredictably across the range. He imposed time limits that forced her to acquire targets quickly and fire accurately under pressure. Through it all, Maria maintained her composure and accuracy. Finally, Morrison set up a scenario that mimicked real combat conditions. Maria had to low-crawl 200 yards to reach a concealed shooting position, then engage multiple targets at various distances while remaining undetected by instructors playing the role of enemy forces. Maria moved through the course like she had been doing it for years. She used natural cover and shadows to remain invisible, advanced to her position without making noise, and eliminated all targets before the enemy forces could locate her position. Morrison watched through binoculars, amazed by her natural ability to read terrain and move without detection. When the exercise was complete, Morrison approached Maria's position. She was already breaking down her equipment and preparing to move to the extraction point. "Where did you learn fieldcraft like that?" he asked. "My father used to take me hunting," Maria explained. "He taught me how to track animals and move through the woods without being seen. He said that patience and observation were more important than being fast." Morrison realized that he was looking at someone with exceptional natural talent. Maria had the rare combination of shooting ability, tactical awareness, and mental discipline that made for an outstanding sniper. But she was still just a recruit in basic training, and there were protocols to follow. That evening, Morrison met with Colonel Hayes, the base commander, to discuss Maria's potential. Hayes was a seasoned officer who had commanded troops in multiple combat zones. He listened carefully as Morrison described Maria's abilities and potential. "You're recommending her for advanced sniper training?" Hayes asked. "I'm recommending that we don't waste this level of talent," Morrison replied. "She has abilities that most soldiers never develop, even with years of training. With proper development, she could become one of our most effective assets." Hayes considered the request carefully. The military was beginning to open more combat roles to women, but sniper positions were still rare and highly competitive. Maria would face significant challenges and skepticism from other soldiers. But if Morrison was right about her abilities, she could prove that women were capable of excelling in any military role. Finish her basic training first, Hayes decided. "If she maintains this level of performance, we'll consider her for specialized training. But she'll have to earn it just like everyone else. No special treatment." Meanwhile, Maria continued her regular training alongside the other recruits. Word of her shooting skills had spread throughout the unit, and reactions were mixed. Some soldiers began to respect her abilities and treated her as an equal. Others became more antagonistic, feeling that she was receiving unfair attention. Jenkins remained her most vocal critic. "So you can shoot," he said during one group discussion. "That doesn't make you a soldier. When bullets are flying in real combat, we'll see how tough you really are." Maria didn't respond to the provocation. She had learned from her father that actions spoke louder than words. Instead of arguing, she continued to excel in every aspect of training. During combat exercises, she demonstrated tactical thinking that impressed the instructors. During survival training, she showed skills that came from growing up in a family that often struggled to make ends meet. One night, during a particularly challenging field exercise, Maria's unit was tasked with navigating through hostile territory to reach an extraction point. They had been walking for hours in difficult terrain, carrying full packs and equipment. Several recruits were struggling with fatigue and dehydration. Jenkins, still acting as team leader, was pushing the unit hard, determined to prove his leadership abilities. But he had misread the map and led the team in the wrong direction. As dawn approached, it became clear that they were lost and running out of time to reach their objective. Private Collins, one of the smaller recruits, collapsed from exhaustion. Jenkins ordered him to get up and keep moving, but it was obvious that Collins was in serious trouble. Maria quietly moved to Collins' side and checked his condition. His skin was pale and clammy, signs of heat exhaustion. "He needs medical attention," Maria told Jenkins. "We need to call for evacuation." "We're not calling for help," Jenkins snapped. "That's an automatic failure for the entire unit." he just needs to toughen up. Maria looked at Collins, who was barely conscious. She made a quick decision. "Give me his pack," she said, shouldering the extra weight. "And, give me the map. I know where we are." Jenkins protested, but other team members were beginning to lose confidence in his leadership. Maria studied the map and identified their actual position. She had been tracking their movement throughout the night and realized that Jenkins had made several navigation errors. "The extraction point is 2 miles northeast," she explained, pointing to the correct location on the map. "If we move now and take the ridge trail, we can make it before the deadline." With Collins supported by 2 other recruits and Maria carrying extra equipment, the team followed her navigation. They reached the extraction point with 15 minutes to spare. Collins received medical treatment and recovered fully, but the exercise had demonstrated something important to the entire unit. That night, as they prepared for lights out, Collins approached Maria. "You saved my life out there," he said quietly. "Jenkins would have left me behind." "No soldier gets left behind," Maria replied. "That's what being part of a team means." Word of the incident reached the instructors, and Maria's leadership potential was noted in her training file. She had shown the ability to make difficult decisions under pressure and put the welfare of her teammates above personal glory. These were qualities that the military valued in its future leaders. As basic training neared its end, the recruits faced their final evaluation exercise. It was a comprehensive test that would determine their assignments and future military careers. The exercise simulated a complex combat scenario that required all the skills they had learned over the previous months. Maria's performance during the final evaluation would determine whether she would have the opportunity to pursue advanced training or be assigned to a standard support role. Everything she had worked for would come down to this single test of her abilities. The final evaluation exercise began before sunrise on a cold Monday morning. Maria and her fellow recruits were transported to a remote training area that simulated an urban combat environment. Abandoned buildings, narrow alleys, and strategic obstacles created a realistic battlefield where they would be tested on everything they had learned. Colonel Hayes observed from the command center as the recruits received their mission briefing. Intelligence reports indicated that enemy forces had taken control of a small town and were holding civilian hostages. The recruits would operate in small teams to eliminate threats, rescue hostages, and secure the area. Each recruit would be evaluated individually on their tactical decisions, combat effectiveness, and ability to work under extreme pressure. Maria was assigned to Team Alpha, led by Jenkins, who had managed to maintain his leadership position despite the previous navigation incident. The team also included Collins, who had recovered from his medical emergency, and 3 other recruits. Their specific objective was to clear a 3-story building where enemy snipers were reportedly positioned. As Team Alpha approached their target building, Jenkins immediately began issuing orders. "Santos, you stay on the ground floor and watch our backs. Collins, you come with me to clear the upper floors. Everyone else, secure the perimeter." Maria studied the building carefully. The structure had multiple windows and rooftop positions that provided excellent fields of fire over the surrounding area. If enemy snipers were truly positioned inside, the direct assault approach that Jenkins was planning would likely result in heavy casualties. "Jenkins," Maria said quietly, "I think we should reconsider the approach. Those windows up there give perfect shooting angles. If we go straight in, we'll be walking into a trap." Jenkins turned to face her, his expression showing irritation. "I'm the team leader, Santos. Follow orders and stay out of the tactical planning." But Collins had learned to trust Maria's judgment during their previous exercises. "What do you think we should do?" he asked. Maria pointed to a fire escape on the side of the building. "If I can get to that fire escape, I can reach the roof and work my way down. That way, I can clear the sniper positions from above while you create a distraction at the front entrance." "Absolutely not," Jenkins interrupted. "That's way too dangerous for someone with your experience level. We stick to standard building clearing procedures." Unknown to the recruits, Captain Morrison was observing their discussion through a concealed camera system. He was particularly interested in seeing how Maria would handle the tactical challenges and whether she would defer to Jenkins' authority or trust her own instincts. Team Alpha moved toward the building according to Jenkins' plan. As they approached the main entrance, the sound of simulated gunfire erupted from the upper windows. Red paint splattered across Jenkins and 2 other recruits, indicating that they had been killed by enemy fire. The exercise controllers had positioned instructor snipers exactly where Maria had predicted they would be. With half the team eliminated, Maria quickly took charge of the remaining members. "Collins, can you provide covering fire from that doorway?" she asked, pointing to a position that would allow him to engage the upper windows. "I'm going to try the fire escape approach." Collins nodded and moved into position. Maria sprinted across the open ground, using debris and abandoned vehicles for cover. She reached the fire escape and began climbing rapidly but quietly. Her movements were fluid and controlled, showing the stealth skills she had learned from hunting with her father. Captain Morrison watched with growing interest as Maria reached the roof level. Instead of immediately entering the building, she took time to observe and listen. Through the exercise monitoring equipment, he could see that she was mentally mapping the positions of the instructor snipers based on the sounds and muzzle flashes from their weapons. Maria entered the building through a roof access door and began working her way down. She moved through the corridors like a ghost, using shadows and doorways to remain invisible. When she encountered the first instructor sniper, she eliminated him silently with her training weapon before he realized she was there. The second sniper was positioned in a room overlooking the main entrance where Collins was providing covering fire. Maria approached the position carefully, noting that the instructor was completely focused on the ground-level threat and unaware of her presence behind him. "Bang," Maria said quietly, placing her weapon against the instructor's back. "You're neutralized." Sergeant Williams, who was playing the role of the sniper, turned around with surprise. "Outstanding approach, Santos," he said, genuinely impressed. "I never heard you coming." Maria continued clearing the building, eliminating 2 more instructor snipers and securing several simulated hostages. Her performance was methodical and professional, demonstrating tactical awareness that was exceptional for someone with only basic training. When the exercise was complete, Maria's team had successfully completed their objective with minimal casualties. Jenkins, though eliminated early in the exercise, had to admit that Maria's alternative approach had been correct. "I guess you knew what you were talking about," he said grudgingly. That evening, Captain Morrison met with Maria privately to discuss her performance. "Your tactical instincts during today's exercise were remarkable," he began. "You read the situation correctly, adapted to changing circumstances, and executed a successful plan under pressure." "Thank you, sir," Maria replied. "I just tried to think about what would work best for the mission." Morrison pulled out a folder and opened it on his desk. "I've been reviewing your entire training record, Santos. Your shooting scores are exceptional, your physical fitness ratings are excellent, and your tactical evaluations show consistent superior performance. I'd like to recommend you for advanced sniper training." Maria felt her heart race. Sniper school was one of the most elite and challenging programs in the military. Very few soldiers were even considered for the training, and fewer still successfully completed it. "Sir, I'm honored by the recommendation, but I wasn't expecting." "Expectations are exactly what we need to discuss," Morrison interrupted. "If you accept this opportunity, you'll face challenges that most soldiers never encounter. Sniper training is physically and mentally demanding. You'll be competing against soldiers with years more experience. Some people will question whether you belong there." Morrison leaned back in his chair and studied Maria carefully. "I've been training snipers for 15 years, and I've learned to recognize natural talent. You have something that can't be taught, the ability to remain calm under pressure, read tactical situations, and make precise shots when lives depend on it. But talent alone isn't enough. You'll need determination and mental toughness to succeed." Maria thought about her family back in Texas, her father working long hours in the repair shop, her mother cleaning houses to pay the bills. This opportunity could change everything for them, but only if she was successful. "Sir, I want to try." I know it won't be easy, but I'm willing to work for it. Morrison nodded and made a note in her file. Sniper school begins in 6 weeks. You'll have some time to prepare physically and mentally. I'll arrange for you to receive additional marksmanship training and tactical instruction before you report. Word of Maria's selection for sniper training spread quickly throughout the base. Reactions ranged from congratulations to skepticism. Some soldiers were genuinely impressed by her achievements and wished her well. Others questioned whether she was truly qualified or if she was receiving special treatment because of her gender. The controversy reached Colonel Hayes, who called Maria to his office for a personal meeting. Hayes was a tough, no-nonsense officer who had earned respect through decades of military service. He wanted to ensure that Maria understood what she was taking on. "Sit down, Santos," Hayes ordered when Maria entered his office. "I've been reading about your training performance and Captain Morrison's recommendation. I want to hear directly from you why you think you're ready for sniper school." Maria sat at attention and looked directly at the colonel. "Sir, I know that I'm young and inexperienced compared to other candidates. But I've been shooting accurately since I was a child, and I understand the responsibility that comes with precision weapons. I'm willing to work harder than anyone else to prove that I belong there." Hayes studied her for several moments before speaking. "The military is changing, Santos. We're opening more combat roles to women, and that means we need women who can excel in those positions. But you won't just be representing yourself in sniper school, you'll be representing all women who want to serve in combat roles." "I understand that, sir," Maria replied. "I won't let anyone down." "Good," Hayes said. "But I want you to understand something else. You're not going to sniper school to make a political point or to break barriers. You're going because Captain Morrison believes you have the skills to become an exceptional sniper. That's the only reason that matters." During the weeks leading up to sniper school, Maria trained intensively under Morrison's guidance. He worked with her on advanced shooting techniques, including shots at extreme distances and in challenging weather conditions. He also trained her on the technical aspects of being a sniper, calculating ballistics, reading environmental conditions, and maintaining specialized equipment. "Sniping isn't just about pulling the trigger," Morrison explained during one training session. "It's about patience, observation, and making decisions that can affect entire military operations. A sniper might spend days in position waiting for a single shot opportunity." Maria learned about camouflage and concealment, practicing techniques for remaining invisible in various terrains. Morrison taught her how to construct ghillie suits and natural blinds that would allow her to operate undetected for extended periods. These skills built upon the hunting and tracking abilities her father had taught her, but they required a level of precision and professionalism that went far beyond recreational hunting. Physical conditioning became even more demanding as Maria prepared for sniper school. She had to be able to carry heavy equipment over long distances, remain motionless for hours while maintaining alertness, and function effectively with minimal sleep. Morrison pushed her through exercises that tested her endurance and mental resilience. "Pain is just weakness leaving the body," Morrison would say when Maria struggled with particularly difficult training. "But mental toughness is what separates good soldiers from great ones." 3 weeks before she was scheduled to report to sniper school, Maria received a call that her father had been injured in an accident at the repair shop. A heavy engine had fallen while he was working underneath a car, crushing his leg and requiring emergency surgery. Maria requested leave to visit her family, knowing that this could potentially affect her sniper school assignment. When Maria arrived at the hospital in Texas, she found her father in serious but stable condition. The doctors explained that he would require multiple surgeries and months of rehabilitation. The medical bills would be enormous, and he wouldn't be able to work during his recovery period. Maria's mother was overwhelmed with worry about both her husband's health and the family's financial situation. "I don't know how we're going to manage," she told Maria through tears. "The insurance doesn't cover everything, and without your father working." Maria held her mother's hand and tried to provide comfort. But, privately, she wondered if she should abandon sniper school and find a way to help her family immediately. The advanced training would take months to complete, during which time she would be earning only basic military pay. Her father, despite his pain and medication, seemed to read her thoughts when she visited his hospital room. "You're thinking about giving up that special training, aren't you?" he asked weakly. "Dad, the family needs help right now," Maria replied. "Maybe I should focus on getting a regular assignment where I can send money home sooner." Her father struggled to sit up in his hospital bed. "Maria, listen to me carefully. Your whole life, people have told you that you're too small, too young, too female to do important things. Now you have a chance to prove them all wrong. If you give up this opportunity, you'll regret it forever. But, the medical bills, the lost income from your work. We'll figure out a way to manage," her father interrupted. "Your mother and I didn't sacrifice to give you a better future just so you could come back and take care of us. We did it so you could achieve things we never could." Maria's younger brother, Carlos, had been listening from the doorway. At 16, he was already working part-time jobs to help the family financially. "Maria, I can work more hours," he offered. "And I talked to Mr. Rodriguez at the garage. He said he'll give me a job helping with simple repairs until Dad gets better." The family discussion continued for hours, with Maria's parents adamant that she should pursue sniper training. They were proud of her achievements and unwilling to let financial difficulties derail her career. Finally, Maria agreed to continue with her plans, but she promised to send as much money home as possible. When Maria returned to Fort Bragg, she threw herself into training with renewed determination. Captain Morrison noticed the change in her intensity and asked about her family situation. When Maria explained what had happened, Morrison was impressed by her parents' support and sacrifice. "That kind of family backing is rare," Morrison observed. "They understand that your success will ultimately help them more than short-term sacrifices would." During her final week of preparation, Maria participated in an advanced marksmanship competition against some of the base's most experienced shooters. The competition included both male and female soldiers with years of combat experience and specialized training. The competition consisted of multiple stages, each testing different shooting skills. Participants had to engage targets at various distances, from multiple positions, and under time pressure. Maria competed with quiet confidence, focusing on each shot and ignoring the conversations and distractions around her. When the competition was complete, Maria had achieved the highest overall score, outperforming soldiers with significantly more experience. Her precision and consistency had been exceptional, and several participants congratulated her on outstanding shooting. Sergeant Major Thompson, the base's senior enlisted advisor, approached Maria after the competition. "Santos, I've been watching your progress since you arrived here. I want you to know that you've earned the respect of everyone on this base through your performance, not because of your background or any special treatment." "Thank you, Sergeant Major," Maria replied. "I've tried to prove myself through my actions." "That's exactly what a soldier should do," Thompson said. "When you get to sniper school, remember that you belong there because you earned it. Don't let anyone make you feel otherwise." On the morning that Maria was scheduled to depart for sniper school, Colonel Hayes personally saw her off. "Santos, you're carrying the hopes of many people who believe in your potential," he said. "But, more importantly, you have an opportunity to become an exceptional soldier. Focus on that goal, and everything else will take care of itself." As Maria's transport vehicle pulled away from Fort Bragg, she reflected on the journey that had brought her to this point. 6 months ago, she had been a small-town girl with limited opportunities and big dreams. Now she was heading to one of the military's most elite training programs, carrying the support of her family and the expectations of everyone who had invested in her potential. But Maria also understood that the real challenges were just beginning. Sniper school would test every skill she had developed and push her beyond her current limits. She would be competing against soldiers who had been selected from across the entire military, and failure would mean returning to a standard assignment with no second chances. As the landscape rolled past her window, Maria thought about the conversation with her father in the hospital. He had reminded her that she was fighting not just for her own future, but to prove that determination and skill mattered more than preconceptions about what a person could achieve. The transport vehicle turned onto the highway leading to the sniper school facility, and Maria felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Everything she had worked for was about to be tested in the most demanding training environment the military had to offer. The U.S. Army Sniper School occupied a sprawling facility in the hills of Georgia, where dense forests and varied terrain provided the perfect environment for training the military's most precise marksmen. As Maria stepped off the transport bus, she found herself among 24 soldiers selected from across all branches of the military. Every candidate had demonstrated exceptional shooting ability and tactical skills during their previous service. Maria was not only the youngest candidate, but also one of only 2 women in the class. The other female candidate, Staff Sergeant Jennifer Walsh, had 5 years of infantry experience and had already completed 2 combat deployments. Walsh was tall, athletic, and carried herself with the confidence of someone accustomed to proving herself in male-dominated environments. The candidates assembled in a sparse classroom where Chief Warrant Officer Davis introduced himself as the lead instructor. Davis was a legendary figure in sniper circles, with over 200 confirmed kills during multiple combat tours and a reputation for accepting nothing less than perfection from his students. "Look around this room," Davis began, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had survived the deadliest battlefields. 24 soldiers started this course. Based on historical averages, 12 of you will graduate. Some will fail because of shooting accuracy. Others will fail because they can't handle the mental pressure. A few will quit because they realize this isn't what they expected. Davis's eyes moved slowly across each candidate, pausing briefly on Maria before continuing. For the next 16 weeks, your entire existence will revolve around becoming a precision weapon. You'll learn to make shots that most soldiers can't imagine. You'll master fieldcraft that allows you to become invisible. Most importantly, you'll develop the mental discipline to kill enemy targets at long range without hesitation. The first week consisted of baseline evaluations and equipment familiarization. Each candidate was tested on basic marksmanship skills, physical fitness, and academic knowledge. Maria performed well in all areas, but she noticed that several male candidates were openly skeptical about having women in the class. Sergeant First Class Rodriguez, a veteran with multiple combat tours, made his feelings clear during one group discussion. "I don't have anything against women serving," he said, "but sniper operations are different. You might spend weeks in enemy territory with no support. When things go wrong, you need people you can count on completely." Staff Sergeant Walsh responded immediately. "Sergeant Rodriguez, I've carried wounded soldiers out of combat zones and led patrols through enemy territory. What exactly makes you think women can't handle difficult situations?" The tension in the room was obvious, but Instructor Davis stepped in before the argument could escalate. "Your opinions about gender roles are irrelevant here," he stated firmly. "Every candidate will be evaluated based on performance alone. If you can't accept that, you can leave now." Maria chose to remain quiet during these confrontations, focusing instead on her training and preparation. She had learned from her father that actions would speak louder than arguments, and she was determined to prove herself through superior performance. The academic portion of sniper training was more demanding than Maria had expected. Students learned advanced ballistics calculations, weather analysis, range estimation, and target identification. They studied urban warfare tactics, rural fieldcraft, and the psychological aspects of precision shooting. Each evening, Maria spent hours reviewing material and practicing calculations until they became automatic. Sergeant Walsh, despite their potential rivalry, often studied with Maria in the evenings. "You know they're watching us more carefully than the men," Walsh observed during one late-night study session. "We have to be better than everyone else just to be considered equal." "I know," Maria replied. "My father always told me that I'd have to work twice as hard to get half the recognition. But that just means I'll be twice as prepared when it matters." Physical training at sniper school was brutal. Candidates had to complete long-distance movements while carrying 70-pound packs and specialized equipment. They learned to remain motionless for hours while maintaining perfect shooting positions. They practiced low crawling through dense vegetation and rough terrain without making sound or disturbing the environment. During one particularly challenging exercise, candidates had to infiltrate to a shooting position 3 miles from their target, remain hidden for 8 hours while observing and recording enemy activity, then engage multiple targets before extracting without detection. The exercise tested every skill they had learned while pushing their physical and mental limits. Maria approached the exercise with careful planning. She studied aerial photographs of the area, identified potential routes and concealment positions, and calculated shooting data for various target distances. Her hunting experience with her father helped her understand how to move through natural terrain without leaving obvious signs of passage. As dawn broke on the day of the exercise, Maria began her infiltration. She moved slowly and deliberately, using natural cover and avoiding areas where her movement might be detected. The specialized ghillie suit she wore made her nearly invisible among the vegetation, but it was also heavy and uncomfortable during the long crawl to her target area. It took Maria 4 hours to reach her planned shooting position, a small depression on a hillside that provided excellent visibility of the target area while keeping her concealed from observation. She settled into position and began the long wait, using binoculars to study the simulated enemy positions and recording information about personnel and equipment. The waiting period tested mental discipline as much as physical endurance. Maria had to remain perfectly still while insects crawled across her face and body temperature fluctuated with changing weather conditions. She focused on her breathing and remained alert to changes in the target area, knowing that any movement or noise could compromise her position. When the time came to engage targets, Maria's shots were precise and deliberate. She eliminated 4 simulated enemy personnel at distances ranging from 400 to 700 yards, then began her extraction. The entire exercise had taken over 12 hours, and Maria completed it successfully while several other candidates failed various aspects of the mission. Chief Davis reviewed her performance during the after-action briefing. "Outstanding fieldcraft, Santos," he noted. "Your movement to and from the target area showed excellent tactical awareness. Your target engagement was textbook perfect. This is exactly the level of performance we expect from sniper school graduates." As training progressed, Maria's consistently superior performance began to earn grudging respect from the other candidates. Even Sergeant Rodriguez, who had initially questioned having women in the class, acknowledged her abilities after watching her outperform most of the men during shooting exercises. "I have to admit, Santos, you know how to shoot," Rodriguez said after Maria achieved perfect scores during a long-range accuracy test. "Where did you learn to handle a rifle like that?" "My father taught me," Maria replied simply. "He said that if you're going to use a weapon, you better be perfect with it." The halfway point of sniper school marked the beginning of the most challenging phase of training. Candidates began learning advanced techniques like shooting from unstable positions, engaging moving targets, and operating in teams with observers. The academic requirements increased as well, with detailed study of enemy tactics, intelligence gathering, and mission planning. During a night shooting exercise, Maria demonstrated abilities that surprised even the instructors. Candidates had to engage targets in complete darkness using only night vision equipment and infrared aiming devices. The equipment was unfamiliar and difficult to use effectively, requiring new techniques and muscle memory. While other candidates struggled with the technology, Maria adapted quickly. Her shooting accuracy at night was nearly as good as her daytime performance, and she completed the exercise faster than any other candidate. Instructor Davis made special note of her performance in his evaluation reports. Staff Sergeant Walsh, despite performing well overall, struggled with some of the night shooting techniques. Maria quietly spent extra time helping Walsh practice with the equipment, sharing techniques that had worked for her. This cooperation between the two women strengthened their relationship and demonstrated the teamwork that Davis wanted to see among future snipers. "Why are you helping me?" Walsh asked during one evening practice session. "We're competing against each other for graduation rankings." "We're not enemies," Maria replied. "We're both trying to become the best snipers we can be. Helping you practice helps me learn the techniques better too." Walsh nodded, appreciating Maria's approach. "You know, when this course started, I thought I'd be mentoring you because of your age and experience level. But you've been performing better than most soldiers with years more training." As the course entered its final month, the pressure intensified dramatically. candidates faced comprehensive examinations on all aspects of sniper operations, culminating in a final field exercise that would determine their graduation status. The final exercise was designed to test everything they had learned in the most realistic and demanding scenario possible. The exercise scenario involved a hostage rescue mission in urban terrain. Teams of 2 candidates would have to infiltrate enemy-held territory, establish concealed positions, and engage specific targets to support a rescue operation. The mission required precise shooting, flawless communication, and perfect timing. Maria was paired with Sergeant Rodriguez for the final exercise. Despite his initial skepticism about female snipers, Rodriguez had come to respect Maria's abilities and professionalism. Their partnership had developed into an effective team during previous training exercises. "Santos, I know I gave you a hard time when this course started," Rodriguez said as they prepared for the final mission. "But I want you to know that I'd rather have you as my partner than most soldiers I've worked with. You're steady under pressure, and your shooting is better than mine." "Thanks, Rodriguez," Maria replied. "Let's focus on completing this mission perfectly. We've both worked too hard to make mistakes now." The final exercise began at midnight, with teams infiltrating separately to predetermined positions around the target building. Maria and Rodriguez moved through the urban environment using shadows and concealment to avoid detection by instructor observers playing enemy roles. Their movement was smooth and coordinated, demonstrating the teamwork they had developed during months of training. Reaching their assigned position required climbing to the roof of a building 600 yards from the target site. They established a concealed shooting position that provided clear fields of fire while keeping them invisible from ground observation. Rodriguez acted as the spotter, using binoculars and laser rangefinding equipment to identify targets and provide shooting data. "Target identified," Rodriguez whispered into his radio. "Adult male, armed, northwest window, 3rd floor. Range 627 yards, wind 2 miles per hour left to right." Maria adjusted her rifle based on Rodriguez's data and acquired the target in her scope. The simulated terrorist was holding a weapon and positioned to threaten the hostage rescue team. She controlled her breathing and squeezed the trigger slowly, sending a precise shot that struck the target center mass. Over the next 40 minutes, Maria engaged 8 different targets in support of the simulated rescue operation. Each shot required different calculations for distance, wind, and target movement. Her performance was flawless, with every engagement resulting in immediate target elimination. The final exercise concluded with all hostages rescued and mission objectives achieved. Maria and Rodriguez had played a crucial role in the success, providing overwatch and precision fire support that allowed the rescue team to complete their mission without casualties. Chief Davis conducted the after-action review for all teams, analyzing performance and identifying areas for improvement. When he reached Maria's evaluation, his comments were brief but significant. "Santos and Rodriguez demonstrated textbook sniper teamwork during this exercise," Davis announced. "Communication was clear and precise, target engagement was immediate and accurate, and tactical movement was professional throughout the mission." The graduation ceremony took place 2 weeks later, with family members and military officials attending to recognize the new snipers. Of the 24 candidates who had started the course, 14 successfully graduated. Maria finished second in overall class ranking, with shooting scores that were among the highest in the school's history. Maria's parents had traveled from Texas to attend the ceremony, despite the financial difficulties caused by her father's injury. Her father attended in a wheelchair, still recovering from his accident, but beaming with pride as his daughter received her sniper qualification badge. "I knew you could do it," he whispered as he hugged her after the ceremony. "You've proven that determination and skill matter more than what people expect." General Patricia Williams, the first female general to command an infantry division, served as the guest speaker for the graduation ceremony. She spoke directly about the significance of having women complete sniper training successfully. "The soldiers graduating today represent the future of our military," General Williams stated. "They have demonstrated that excellence in combat specialties is determined by ability and dedication, not by preconceptions about gender or background." Following graduation, Maria received orders to report to the 82nd Airborne Division, where she would serve as part of an elite sniper team. Her assignment would involve training with experienced snipers and, potentially deploying to combat zones where her skills would be tested in real-world situations. During her final conversation with Chief Davis, he provided guidance about her future career. "Santos, you've demonstrated exceptional ability during this course, but remember that graduation is just the beginning. Real-world operations will test you in ways that training exercises cannot simulate." "I understand, Chief," Maria replied. "I'm ready for whatever challenges come next." "I believe you are," Davis said. "You have the technical skills, mental discipline, and tactical awareness to become an outstanding sniper. More importantly, you've earned the respect of your peers through performance rather than politics." Before leaving sniper school, Maria received an unexpected visit from Captain Morrison, her original mentor from Fort Bragg. Morrison had traveled to Georgia specifically to congratulate her on completing the course and discuss her future assignments. "Maria, your performance here has exceeded even my highest expectations," Morrison said. "The instructors have told me that you're among the most naturally gifted snipers they've ever trained. You have the potential for a truly exceptional career." "Sir, I couldn't have succeeded without your initial training and recommendation," Maria replied. "You gave me the opportunity to prove myself." Morrison smiled. "I simply recognized ability that was already there. What you've accomplished is the result of your own hard work and determination." As Maria prepared to leave for her new assignment, she reflected on the journey that had brought her from a small town in Texas to becoming one of the military's elite snipers. The challenges had been enormous, but she had proven that with enough determination and skill, it was possible to exceed everyone's expectations. 6 months later, Maria received deployment orders for overseas assignment. She would finally have the opportunity to apply her training in real combat operations, where precision shooting could save friendly lives and eliminate enemy threats. The night before her deployment, Maria called her family in Texas. Her father's recovery was progressing well, and the family's financial situation had stabilized with help from Maria's military pay and her brother's part-time work. "Dad, I want to thank you for encouraging me to continue with sniper training even when the family needed help," Maria said during the call. "Maria, you've already made our sacrifice worthwhile," her father replied. "You've become something special, and that's what your mother and I always wanted for you." As Maria boarded the military transport for her first combat deployment, she carried with her the lessons learned from everyone who had contributed to her success. Her father had taught her shooting skills and mental toughness. Captain Morrison had recognized her potential and provided opportunities. Chief Davis had transformed her raw ability into professional expertise. But, most importantly, Maria had learned that excellence was possible for anyone willing to work for it, regardless of their background or the expectations of others. She had earned her place among the military's most elite soldiers through performance, not preferences, and she was ready to prove herself in combat. The transport aircraft lifted off into the night sky, carrying Maria toward her first operational assignment as a qualified sniper. Everything she had worked for had led to this moment, and she was ready for whatever challenges awaited her in the battlefield ahead. In the months that followed, reports would filter back about a sniper known by the call sign Shadow Reaper, whose precision and tactical awareness were saving lives and eliminating high-value enemy targets. Fellow soldiers would speak of a small, quiet professional whose shooting ability was matched only by her dedication to protecting her teammates. But those stories would be for another day. For now, Maria Santos had achieved her goal of becoming one of the military's most elite snipers, proving that with enough determination and skill, it was possible to exceed every expectation and assumption about what a person could accomplish.